Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Spark, and thank you for all the incredible support. I know you guys love this space as much as I do. A lot of times it consumes us. It's just so many different pieces of the puzzle and so many different things happening. We're at the early stages. So many things are new and exciting, and I know you guys are into it just like I am. Now, it's not for everybody, but I get a lot of great interaction. This is my video today that you've probably already seen, or maybe if you haven't, make sure you check it out. These kind of comments always get me. I realize that a lot of us are in the same game. We get it. That's why we're hanging together, and thank you for all the support. This is from Mitt P. Just a little while ago. 99.9% of companies and people who think cryptos are the work of the devil are going to go into the list of extinction as dinosaurs. I got a few family members who think this way too. May they be blessed with common sense. I love it. Not everybody's going to think the way we do. Here, Jim says, in order to connect with you, you have the email restriction on. Example, I would need your email to send an invite to connect. This was on LinkedIn because I suggested people check me out on LinkedIn and connect. So I connected with him and changed the settings. Thank you for letting me know, Jim. Love to always connect with more people. Great subs like Flex Pro. I like this. And Jamie Haas, another well done video. Thanks. Crypto Spark, lots of support. Now listen, this is the kind of support that usually shows up on the videos. I mean, so often. But sometimes when there's these growth spurts on the channel, I always get a small, and I mean tiny percentage, like less than 1%. Somebody will come on and say something that seems like they're trying to give critical advice, and when you read through it, you realize they're just really toxic. They're trying to bash the person who's doing the video. I see it on other people, other YouTube's channels as well, and you know right away after a while that these are small-minded people. They're just trying to bash the whole entire place and everything that has to do with it. But quite honestly, the large majority of people in this space, we get it. We understand that there's going to be a lot of animosity. There's going to be people that don't understand. There's going to be people that are ignorant. Maybe some of them are just upset about things. Whatever it might be, they got their own personal stuff going on. The only voice that I really listen to, and I appreciate every single one of you that support me, I really, really do. But the only voice that at the end of the day that I listen to is my own. Now, I love the support, and I know a lot of you guys are in it with me. You're in it to win it, and we're doing the same exact thing. But ultimately, it's up to us because we've got to have thick skin to put up with a lot of the stuff that's going to happen. Not just YouTube stuff. This is nothing. I mean, all the things that we're going to come up against. So supporting me, supporting other channels, thank you so much. We're going to move on to other stuff. But people think that we're crazy, like we are the crazy ones.
Make me crazy.
Not even close. We're the sane ones. We're the ones that calculate what we're doing, and we recognize that this is for the everyday person. We can get ahead. We can be part of the early group. We are part of the early group. So many different things, from entrepreneurs to engineers to people investing in cryptos, people coming up with new technology, new concepts, and even just benefits that we can get in our everyday lives. There's so many of them. Use cases, just everybody's out there wondering, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? They said the same thing about the internet thousands and thousands of times over and over, and very few people saw the vision. It doesn't mean that they knew that it would work the very first time. A lot of times I talk about the central banking system, and people within the system say that cryptos could never do this. By the way, here in the U.S. alone, before the central banks actually came into power in 1913 in the U.S., it was tried 2 other times. Okay, so things don't always go smoothly the first time, but none of us are giving up. I know you're not either. And you know what? There are very, very wealthy people that understand that this isn't so crazy. Let's take a look at this article. This $575 million ICO with royal backing is so crazy, it might be real. Crypto loves Lambos, right? We know that. So much so, it seems that a startup looking to release movies. Early offerings include a biopic about the founder of the car company and his feud with the founder of Ferrari. He has raised a whopping $575 million of its private sale of TTU crypto tokens from investors, including Block Tower Capital and even a prince. All right, the startup's called Tata2, and it's raised the third largest round ever using the ICO system that many of us are starting to become it's just an everyday situation for us. If you think that sounds crazy, such a huge amount of money raised with no history by a company in this crypto space, you wouldn't be alone. Even one of the project's backers admits that the news announced today will catch many off guard. Not if you've been in this space. If you've been in this space, you recognize this is what it's going to do. It's going to catch people off guard over and over and over. And only those that are in the space regularly. I don't mean once in a while they check in. I mean they're in it, like you're in it, to win it. You will know that these projects will continue to pop up. Some of them will be big, some of them will be smaller, but they're going to be hedge funds and capital groups that are raising capital that recognize that these things are not going away and they're a great source. We're not the crazy ones. And you'll slowly see, if you stick around long enough, that we're definitely the ones that have the most sanity. The large round seems surprising in the context of a crowded and bearish crypto industry. First of all, it's not crowded. I don't care what anybody says. If I hear somebody say, oh, the ICOs, too many of them, they don't understand how in these kinds of endeavors, there will always be a massive amount of people jumping in and trying to figure out what they can do to tweak it, to change it, to make it better, to make it their own. Any kind of boom that happens, and there's always going to be people saying, oh, this is too much or that's too much, so we should just ignore the boom and not develop. I mean, these are people that are followers and not leaders. Don't listen to them. In a bearish crypto industry, first of all, it's a bear market that's a short period of time. There are definitely arguments as to why. We had an unbelievable, amazing, mind-blowing run-up last year. So of course it's going to be correction. And of course by standards, in typical standards, this is a big correction. It's significant. And we can call it a bearish market because of that. But this is just, the beginning of a much bigger tsunami. So it's not a bearish crypto industry. That's ridiculous. We think it is. In fact, it isn't. Alan Cassis, the CEO of Levna Capital, told CoinDesk Cassis's family gave money to the project, but Levna Capital did not participate in the round. So it seems surprising, but it's not. This is new money coming into the markets at a time when we continue to see delays from the long-expected institutional investors' participation in Bitcoin. First of all, it's not all institutional investors are not participating. Some of these black and white comments are just so absurd. Sure enough, some of that new money is coming from European royalty and nobility. Prince Felix of Luxembourg is somebody they're using as an example. They own Bacardi Limited. Many of you have heard about that. Plus, with Block Tower Capital Investing acting as a strategic investor as Levna Capital, there seems to be quite a bit of support of Tatu's endeavor, which isn't only about movie making. So we're going to see more and more about this. I mean, quite honestly, this should not be so shocking. I mean, if you've been in this for a while, you can see, and even if you haven't, take a look back. All right, look back, spend some time, not just on what happened this week or last week or next week, you're thinking about what's happening. Look back at the numbers of what has occurred in this industry. How many people are employed? There are academic institutions getting involved. There's more ICOs that are growing. There's market cap is down, but it's still amazing where it's gone. And there's more projects that are developing and teams are still continuing to grow and doing what they're supposed to be doing. To me, this is far from some short-lived issue. This is a big deal. And when you look short-term, you'll always see things that are not accurate. Pointing to a new category of interested crypto backers, this is new money coming into the markets at a time when we continue to see delays, as they mentioned. Sure enough, some of that new money is coming from European royalty, as we mentioned, and Block Tower, as we mentioned. But let's move on to another comment that we would not really expect. This is just good time to really move into this. Goldman Sachs CEO, this is fantastic. I know some of you have been following along, but this is just one of those quotes. Man, this should be the quote of the year. It's arrogant to think cryptocurrency won't be successful. Whoa. I mean, let me read that again. I don't know if I'm the only one that gets excited about that, but let's go here, okay? It's arrogant to think cryptocurrency won't be successful. The Goldman Sachs CEO, Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest investment banks in the global finance sector, valued at $87 billion, has criticized skeptics that believe Bitcoin and crypto do not have a future. If you've been following along, you know Goldman Sachs is a backer of Circle. You know they're in this. You know they're making a big push. And whether you have doubts or you have conspiracy or a different kind of thinking about what they're doing and why they're doing it, let me tell you, they're supporting it much more than some of the other people that are supporting cryptos or some version of it. Clearly, they are supporting it more than some of the other ones. And you know what? When you say things like this, millions of people will hear it. Millions of people will hear it. Now, I'm sure there's more to the sentence than just that. I'm sure he's made other comments that'll confuse people. But ultimately, you got to think that this is a positive statement from one of the biggest names that's ever been in banking at all. If you go through that fiat currency where they say this is worth what it's worth because the government, say it is, why couldn't you have a consensus currency? Wow, he's coming around. He's starting to come around, right? Previously, during an interview with the CNBC's Kayla Tosh, Blankfein echoed a similar sentiment regarding Bitcoin, describing a period in the U.S. history during which the U.S. government abruptly abolished the gold standard and replaced it with a currency with no value, the U.S. dollar. Now, that's a statement, no value. We could talk about that. But what they're talking about is no intrinsic value, which was always seen as intrinsic in gold and silver. And so this is something that we're seeing now is why can't it be by consensus? When ultimately, that's exactly what currency is. At the time, U.S.-based businesses, individuals, and investors had difficulty accepting and embracing the U.S. dollar. And by the way, this went on over and over and over, and it will continue to go on. And there are currencies around the world that are continuing to fail, and I bet you there's millions of people in those countries that really don't like the way things are going. And yeah, they don't like the currency and the consensus, which is usually by an elite, tiny fraction of people in power. At the time, U.S.-based businesses, individuals, and investors had difficulty accepting and embracing the U.S. dollar, a form of paper money, as an alternative to gold. It's an IOU. That is what it is. And still to this day, that is what you're dealing with. When you have a massive amount of money, I don't care if it's at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, or anybody else, it is an IOU. If you've never heard that before, think about it. You're like, how could it be an IOU? Let's say things go south. Oh, like they've never done that before. Let's say things go south financially in the markets. And just like a really serious monetary breakdown. And that has happened throughout history. And many of you are old enough to realize it just happened just really 10 years ago. And it will happen again. What happened to a lot of the people that were sitting there with money that were in these institutions? Did it work out for them? Well, many of them had a really hard time getting that money back. And ultimately, it really comes down to you have to get it back. And you think it's yours. It's whoever holds on to it. That's 90%, right? They say possession is 90% of ownership. Well, that's what ends up happening. You got to deal with that. So hopefully we'll have a better system in the future. And that is why we're so excited about what we have now. Similar to how paper money was forced to become the natural progression of gold, Blankfein explained that Bitcoin could one day become the natural progression from fiat money to digital money. Well, it'll be much different, actually, because of the ability for us to decentralize the entire system. It's even better than gold in some ways, okay? In some ways. I'm not saying that it replaces everything about gold. That's not the case. I don't feel that way. But I do think a decentralized system could be superior. Although he does not fully understand crypto and is not convinced that Bitcoin will soon become a reserve currency, he said he's open-minded about the crypto market as an emerging asset class. Very, very interesting way to look at it, and you got to give him credit for that at least. And even if he doesn't turn around and become a major supporter, making these comments starts to add a lot of fuel to the positive fire of Bitcoin. I know a lot of you understand what I'm saying. A $5 coin was worth $5 because it had $5 worth of gold in it. All right, so that's what it was intrinsically. Then they issue paper money that is backed by gold in the treasury. Then one day they issue paper money that does not have the backing of gold. None of that paper money you have has the backing of gold. None of those credit cards you're using have the backing of gold. There was no pledge that if you turn it in, I'll give you $5 of gold. It is fiat money. I say this piece of paper is worth $5 and so forth. Therefore, it is $5. And a lot of people did not take that for a long time, but they've been conditioned and in a lot of ways forced. You move a little bit further and you get Bitcoin that is not a fiat currency, so I don't trust it and I don't like it. On the other hand, if it works, I say maybe it was a natural progression from hard money to digital money. Now, I'm not sure I have the answer, but I would say at this point in history, it's a good thing to have all of your buckets filled as much as possible, right? That's just how I feel. That's how I diversify. But ultimately here, Goldman Sachs coming out with this kind of statement, that it's arrogant to think cryptocurrency won't be successful, right, anybody who's on the other side of history right now, they're the crazy ones. All right, guys, that is your Crypto Spark for now.